In our last video, we discussed Parasoft Virtualize's message proxies and what their purposes were. In this video, we're going to go ahead and use a proxy to record traffic from our demo application. Let's go ahead and get started by taking a look at the endpoints for our demo application. We get here by going into our services section. And the service that we're going to be recording today is the loan processor service. It's a third-party dependency that we have in our application. We want to go ahead and record the information that's sent to it and then create a virtual service for it. The first thing that we need is the actual endpoint of the service. And you can find that right here in the UI. So let's go ahead and copy this, and then we can add that connection information to our proxy. Let's go ahead and click Add, and we will put the endpoint of the service in the primary connection. This means that when we connect to this proxy, it will forward its information to this endpoint. Now all we have to do is define an endpoint for the proxy to listen to. We recommend using the same endpoint that you have for the real service, but adding a little information so that you know it's a proxy. So I'm just going to put proxy. That's really all I need for this case, because when I go to start recording, it's going to take all calls that come to this endpoint and it's going to forward them to this endpoint while recording the information into a traffic file. So if you're following along, I would recommend grabbing your proxy endpoint because we'll need that in just a moment. Let's go ahead and name this proxy. In this case, it's the loan processor proxy. Save. And most importantly, enable. Now that that proxy exists and we have the proxy URL copied to our clipboard, what we should do is now feed that proxy URL to our demo application so that it knows to connect to our proxy to send the call back to the third-party service. So go ahead and bring up your demo application. And you'll see at the very top that there's an admin page. We can go ahead and click on that. And one of the things that you'll see is that there is a field that it's asking for the endpoint for the loan processor service. If we paste in the contents of our clipboard and click submit, what we've just done is we've told the demo application, whenever you connect to the third-party service loan processor service, connect to the proxy instead. That means all calls will be redirected to the proxy, and the proxy will redirect to the correct backend service. So let's go ahead and test this out. The best way to use a proxy within Parasoft Virtualize Community Edition is to monitor the proxy and see the transactions that are flowing through it. Back in Virtualize, you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner of your proxy, you have the ability to start monitoring. You can click here, or you can right-click on the proxy itself and say start monitoring. What this means is now any transactions that go through that proxy will be sent to Parasoft Virtualize Event Details Framework. So we can go ahead and look at that Event Details Framework by clicking on the Open Perspective button at the very top of the solution and choosing Parasoft Event Details. Go ahead and do so now. You'll see that this will open up into an event details framework. And when we start exercising that proxy, we'll see the data come through and we'll see the events. So why don't we finish this by exercising our application and seeing the calls come through the framework? So to actually exercise this third-party service, we need to apply for a loan. It is a loan processing service. So go ahead and click on the logo to take you back to the home page. And then what we can do is log in. The login credentials for ParaBank are John, all lowercase, as the username, and demo, D-E-M-O, as the password. Log in. And now what we can do is we can select the request loan function and we'll apply for a loan. Go ahead and just put in a simple amount. I'm going to go ahead and request a $1,000 loan with a $10 down payment. And as soon as I click apply now, it will try to connect with the backend service. It looks like everything was successful. The real information will be once I look at Virtualize, I will see that all of the details are actually being sent through my proxy. This is not only important to know that we will be able to record this transaction in a moment, but will also be important if we ever need to debug the service. We see that we received requests. Those requests were forwarded to the real system. The real system responded, and we got our response back. So now we're in a position where we can start recording the transactions from our application and create a virtual service. And that's exactly what we're going to do in our next video.